Hello viewers, welcome to our lecture series on Indian ethos in management, and today we are going to continue our discussion on the very pertinent topic of organizational development and management. We have been talking about total capital approach in this domain that is called ODM, organizational development and management, and this is going to be part 2 of our lectures on this topic. I have told you briefly in the previous lecture of mine what are the 5 forms of capital as part of holistic development framework. We gave you a brief introduction of what exactly we mean by different forms of capital, what is the basic view of capital, that is money, and what are the extended types of capital which we witness in the business organization as a holistic development framework. And after having discussed all those forms of capital, now it's time for us to discuss about holistic development framework as ODM model. We'll talk about ERPS framework for ODM in today's lecture, and we'll discuss in detail about what exactly we mean by VSP model, and eventually we'll talk about the role of ODM in institutional building and grounded praxis approach to strategic management as part of our discussion of this topic. So, my dear learners, when Adam Smith talked about 4 factors of production, I told you that there is land, labor, capital and organization. His definition of capital was actually restricted to money, and that is the point which we took as our reference point, as a base point from where we started discussing that now time has changed a lot. When Adam Smith talked about the different sources of capital, different sources of production, and their capital was having its restricted meaning, that is called money only. But as we all understand that capital has now a term, it has become a term which is being added to different other sources which are acting as capital, which can be capitalized. And further, land is, as we all know, that it is no more a significant factor, particularly in this arena of knowledge organizations where we talk about knowledge as a product. So, after giving you all those discussions, I told you briefly about what is human capital, what is social capital, intellectual capital, spiritual capital, and the way it is defined. So these emerging dimensions of capital which has actually caught attention of, drawn attention of academicians and also the practitioners, we actually defined all those terms, that what are those different types of capitals, and the way it is defined: the physical capital, the human capital, knowledge capital and spiritual capital. So, that is something which we have already discussed. We also talked about ERPS framework, where E stands for efficiency, effectiveness and efficiency, R stands for reinventing, restructuring and re-engineering, and S stands for strategy, structure and system. And P stands for purpose, process and people, which is suggested by one of the leading researcher in this area called Sumantra Ghoshal, who actually talked about the purpose, process and people, the way they become increasingly important, and the way it was extended. That was something which we discussed in the previous lecture of mine. Now, we will talk about henceforth we will discuss about the second dimension of this ERPS framework, that is called VSP model. When we say VSP model, we need to first understand what was there into SP model. In SP model, all these were combined together to take advantage of both the framework. While advocates of 3P model, that is Ghoshal et al., they are supposed to be the propagators, advocates of 3P model. They suggested a transition from 3S to 3P model. The SP model, which is a combination, as the term itself indicates, it is a combination of both, that is S and P. It suggests an integration of the two approaches, that whatever was there into 3P model and whatever was there into 3S model, both are combined together to offer a fusion which can be helpful in attainment of our ultimate goals. So, through a continuous process of reinventing, restructuring and re-engineering, my dear learners, when we talk about strategic management and when we talk about strategy, structure and systems, we need to understand that we not only need a re-engineering, but we do need reinvention. We need restructuring at certain points, we need reinventing at certain points, and of course, re-engineering of processes is something which is inevitable nowadays. So, we need to get aligned with purpose. These things are supposed to be aligned with the purpose, process and people, because unless you align your purpose, your process, and more importantly, more significantly, people who are going to implement it. Because whatever you plan, whatever you decide, whatever you strategize, if your people, the frontline workers, the operating level employees, if they don't understand that for what we are working, and if there is no alignment between whatever is your vision, mission, goal, and at the ground level when you are going to implement, those things will be confined to a paperwork only. That would merely become a paperwork, and this entire exercise of ODM will become a futile exercise. This is not going to give us any meaningful results. So we need to understand that organizations, if they really wish to achieve their goals and objectives in the light of this ERPS framework for ODM, they need to get aligned, these reinventing, restructuring, re-engineering of strategy, structure and systems. They need to be aligned with the 3P, that is purpose, process and people. Because unless you get aligned, you cannot achieve for what you are working, for what we are working. So through leadership, efficacy, managerial effectiveness and operational efficiency, we can achieve these objectives. So what is needed here while getting aligned with purpose, process and people? We need to have that efficacy into our leadership. We need to have that effectiveness into our management, and we need to have that efficiency at operational level. So at all three levels, it is now defined that at the level of leadership, the top management, that what we need is efficacy. At the level of the middle level management, we need what? Effectiveness, managerial effectiveness. And at operational level, which is the bottom of the pyramid, we need operational efficiency. You can't become effective unless you are efficient at operational level. So this is actually, my dear learners, the essence of ERPS model, which has gone significant importance, which has got significant importance, and it has gone a long way in achievement of this organizational development and management. So ODM will become a reality only when we understand the essence of this ERPS model. And then we need to understand what is there into VSP model. When this SP model, which was extended to VSP model of ODM, which is another step into it, a step ahead, an institution building, this model has following three vectors. If we have to understand what is there into VSP, so these VSP, this acronym represents three important vectors, vector sets which are integrated together, where V stands for your vision, vistas and values. What is your vision? What are the broad contours of your operations? What is the value system which you are going to create, which you are going to present before your stakeholders, that with this value system my organization is going to work? Whether my organization will be following a holistic approach, or it will be confined to some of the stakeholders. Of course, nobody would like to show this or say this, that we are confined to some of the stakeholders only. They need to understand the significance of each and every stakeholder. Second is the S vector, which actually reflects or which indicates towards strategy, structure and systems. That the second vector is representing your strategy, and for that implementation of strategy, what is the structure which you have, and system is going to tell you the guidelines, the processes with which you are going to attain your goals, attain your objectives. So my dear learners, at the top level you are having your vision, vistas and values which represent the V vector, and at middle level of management you need to strategize, you need to structure, you need to offer a system, you need to provide a guideline to your operating level employees that see, this is the way we have to work. And eventually the P vector is going to tell us the purpose, that let our employee know that what is the purpose of my organization, what is the purpose of my existence, for what my company is operating, for what my products are being offered. So identifying or asking a question to yourself, that for what my company is here, is it merely confined to offering a product, making a profit, or something beyond that? So that purpose need to be defined, and it should also be communicated properly to each and every stakeholders, each and every employee in this entire system. Processes are need to be defined, and people, of course, they are very important and they need to understand. So my dear learners, it is nothing but a systematic representation of three important vectors, that is VSP. So VSP model has become very popular nowadays, that if we actually focus on these three vectors, we can achieve our goals. And we need to understand that this S vector is representing the left brain approach to it, ODM. As we all know that our brain has two parts, left hemisphere and right hemisphere. So left brain approach is basically represented by the S vector, and P vector represents the right brain approach, that is the right hemisphere, and V vector is going to integrate the both. We cannot run our organization with either left brain approach or only right brain approach. We are not supposed to be either only intuitive or only creative or being very logical only. So we need logic, we need intuitions, we need creativity, we need innovation. So both the parts of brain, that is left and right hemisphere, they are very much needed in present day time. And not only that, we need both of them, we need to integrate them together. They should not work in different directions. So it is the V vector that is going to integrate the two approaches. So that becomes very important. And if we look at the previous literature available on the subject, we find that management concepts were heavily influenced by the S vector only. They were very logical, they were actually having lot of influence of S vector only, and somehow this P and V vector, it got ignored. Sumantra Ghoshal as a researcher suggested the need for shift towards P vector. He actually identified that, see, why we need the shift or this move towards the P vector. And now there is a need to integrate the two approaches through V vector. So it's the time has come to reach to another dimension of ODM, and there is need to integrate the two approaches. So this could be viewed as a new model for study by not only the organizations but also the academia. Because the 9 dimensions represented by 3 vectors are given due attention, and their interconnectivity is also emphasized by not only the academicians but also the corporate entities. So this VSP model can also be considered as a new yantra, as a new tool, as a new kit in the hands of management, wherein you can offer a new definition to this ODM, that is organizational development and management. So this VSP model, VSP management yantra, can also serve as a framework for developing case studies of organizations, institutions, and also the countries. See, if we consider this entire nation as an organization, then of course the case study can also be developed here, and we can find that what are the ways with which it is being implemented. And my dear learners, I would like to put this fact in front of you, that this yantra takes us beyond the McKinsey's 7S framework. McKinsey has given its 7S framework, where they talked about strategy, structure, systems, staff, skill, styles, and shared values, which is very popular. And this is going beyond that. Imagine that those 7S framework, which was supposed to be at one point of time that was called to be the most exclusive and comprehensive framework. Now this VSP model is taking us a step ahead from that, because here we are identifying 9 dimensions of organizational development and management, and those 2 additional dimensions which are being added here is basically the purpose and also the process. So purpose and process, of these 2 things are added. If we know the purpose of our existence, of course we can make improvement into our actions, we can perform better as an employee, as an executive, or as a part of management or leadership. So my dear learners, this VSP model is actually a new feather in the cap of ODM, where you can find that this VSP model, if it is implemented, there is no confusion, there is no question of having any kind of ambiguity in the minds of either top management or middle level management, or even at the operating level, where all those plans are being executed. So this VSP model is letting us go beyond that 7S framework, and it is giving us the most comprehensive and integrated format, where we are integrating V, S, and P, and it is not only the left brain or right brain, but also their integration. which nobody could even think of previously, that this can also be a dimension of looking at ODM. Now we need to discuss that what is the role of ODM in institution building. If we have to build our institution, because long term sustainability, it has become a buzzword in the corridors of management. Now people talk about the business models which are more and more sustainable. You are doing a business, you are making a profit, your approach is holistic, your employees are happy, your stakeholders are satisfied, but what about your sustainability? What is the role of ODM in institution building? This is the reason why we increasingly talk about this ODM and institution building, because there is a big question mark on sustainability of different business formats. So we have to understand that although ERPS framework is very much useful as a framework of change management, a framework for linking ODM and institution building is worth advising here. We need to advise a framework which can link ODM and institution building, because unless it is indicated, unless it is positioned towards institution building, it is not going to serve our purpose in totality. And this is particularly needed because this is very particularly or precisely needed because corporates are emerging as social institutions. Now they talk about taking corporate entities as a family, that we are considering all our stakeholders as part of our family. So there is a need to improve their 5 forms of capital, that also requires some revision, because the capital in the form of money is there, but what about the other capital? What about the social capital? What about the spiritual capital of my company? So they all those forms of capital, they require some kind of improvement. Now what improvements they require, the 5 elements that constitute the foundations for framework of ODM and institution building, which come in front of us, can also be discussed. We talk about shared vision, we talk about collective vision, that this vision doesn't belong to one person, it doesn't belong to the entrepreneur, it doesn't belong to one person in the company, but it is basically a collective vision. Let everyone participate into drafting the vision document of the organization. Imagine what if each and every person who is working in your organization is contributing their own bit while drafting the vision document. What are the core values which define the way of our business? What are the resources? What are the relationships, structures, systems and processes? If we include each and every employee into this process of shared vision, core values, defining core values, identifying resources, how to manage relationships, structures, systems and processes, their definitions, their redrafting and recrafting, if we include all of them, imagine what would happen. It would actually give a new way, it would actually offer a new dimension to this entire definition of ODM. So collective vision here, when I say, it represents the shared vision along with the strategies and action plans. Because if you are drafting a vision, the employee at operating level would be in a position to contribute that, see, this is the way we can act upon it, or whether it is actionable or not. Suppose you draft a vision and that is not actionable. You draft a vision and that for that planning cannot be done because time is limited. So that vision need to be supported by the core values which actually reflects the way business is being operated in the organization, and they actually constitute the cornerstone of principles of business. If we talk about resources of your organization, it includes not only the human resource, not only the physical resources, but also knowledge resources and capital. We should not confine the definition of resources to physical resources only, to material resources only. It is also a knowledge resource, it is also our capital, it is also our human resources. So we should actually take the broader definition of resources. And when we talk about relationships here, it actually includes relationships with all stakeholders, be it customers, be it employees, be it society, be it government, be it your shareholder, or anybody who is actually directly or indirectly attached or involved with our company, with our organization. And when we say structure, system and processes, they actually reflect governance structures to ensure good governance, monitoring and performance measurement systems through scorecards. that you are actually quantifying that this is the way my employees are operating. So that is there are different techniques for that we are not discussing here, because we have to focus upon this ODM and institution building. So my dear learners, accountability and transparency, they are actually part of internal processes. No matter how good your vision is, no matter how good your objectives and goals, how better they are defined or redefined or drafted or communicated, but if there is no accountability and transparency into your business organization as part of internal processes, you will never be able to get what you are supposed to get, for what you are engineered, for what you are doing this entire reinventing, re-engineering and restructuring. So structure, system and processes, they should be designed to facilitate achievement of results. It should be result oriented. Why don't you quantify that, see, this person would be accountable for this, and it should be transparently communicated to all the employees. So this is the way we actually we can implement this organizational development. This is the way we can actually implement this ODM as part of institution building. And my dear learners, when we talk about this ODM nowadays, it is actually changing day by day. Whatever I am discussing today might be possible that 6 months later or 1 year later, this can also become a story of past. It can also require some more changes, like McKinsey 7S framework is requiring. So now, right now we are having 9 components. Tomorrow some other components can also be added, or there can be a need of eliminating those factors which are redundant. So it is actually this entire exercise of ODM is dynamic in nature. It changes with the passage of time. You would find a lot of change into that. And for this entire discussion on organizational development and management, I would give credit to this article published by Subhash Sharma in Strategic Human Resource Management, which is actually a part of a book publication published by G. Pandunaik Institute of HRD, Bangalore. And there he talked about 5 forms of capital as holistic development framework, and I found it very significant contribution to the body of knowledge on the subject of ODM. And these 5 forms of capital that need to be understood, that need to be taken in the right spirit. So my dear learners, what literature actually says, there is a very interesting study, and I am not saying that this study has started in this year only. Way back to 1981, there is a researcher called Parikh. They suggested the octa-pace. There is a term, there is an acronym called octa-pace, which indicates the openness, collaboration, trust, authenticity, proactivity, autonomy, confrontation and experimentation. These values are represented by the octa-pace. Octa-pace is basically an acronym to indicate the values, the core values of organizations development and institution building. That if you really wish to develop your organization, if you really wish to develop your institution, your organization, which is sustainable in nature, which is more inclusive, which considers the interest of all stakeholders, we need to focus on the core values represented by octa-pace, wherein you need to be very transparent. Openness actually reflects the transparency. You need to collaborate for whatever limitations your organization is facing, your company is facing, your unit is facing. You need to collaborate for that. You can overcome those deficiencies, those limitations by the way of collaboration. So wherever your hands are, you are running short of resources, you can collaborate. You have to maintain or build that trust among your employees. Your claims need to be authentic. You need to be proactive. You need to offer autonomy to your workforce, to your management. And of course, confrontation here doesn't mean that you are actually going to have a debate or discussion on that. You need to actually discuss and deliberate. Confrontation here doesn't mean that you are opposing somebody. And of course, experimentation is going to give you the better results. So my dear learners, in this way we had discussed about ODM and what this octa-pace talked about, what is there into VSP model. I hope you must have enjoyed this lecture of mine. I will be extending remaining part of this topic in the next lecture of mine. Thank you so much.